Okay, so let's start on our back, finding triple S with the knees bent. Think about lengthening the back of the neck. If you'd like to have the block under the base of the skull to help the neck find a little bit more of a neutral alignment without forcing it down toward the chest, you can use the block there. Maybe hands come to the ribs if that feels nice. And we'll inhale and feel the breath expand down into the ribs. Exhaling fully, either through your nose or your mouth. Inhaling and feeling the rib cage expand side to side, like the torso is getting wider. Fully exhaling. Keep inhaling and expanding your breath into the sides of the rib cage. You're going to head into a supported bridge pose. So the block is going to come underneath the sacrum. Feeling that triple S now, so back of the skull and shoulder blades are on the ground, but the sacrum, the back of the pelvis, is just landing on the block. We still want to feel the neutral pelvis of our two pelvic points drawing in, some engagement in the glutes, but we don't have to quite lift off the block yet. So it's a little bit more modified than a normal bridge. We're going to start with a little forearm massage. Take your right hand over to the left elbow crease or forearm. You can slide and glide up like a toothpaste. Squeeze. You can do little pinches all the way up. So try a couple just like that. And then we'll add on and you can slide and glide up and then go to the thumb and kind of just traction that thumb up, glide the tissue up. Start back at the elbow, glide up, and then do the index finger. So just do that same little glide of the tissues up, hitting space in the joints. And then you can head to the other side. So head to that right forearm. And again, you can squeeze at the bottom and glide all the way up like you're squeezing the rest of the toothpaste out of the tube. You can do little kind of pinches on the way up. And then start to add that movement for the fingers, where you add that glide or traction up on each finger. And you can be orienting the hand or the arm however you want to do this. It can be a lot closer towards your body. Now you have the option to stay here in a supported bridge, or you can lift the hips off the block, place the block between the knees or thighs, and we'll start to stretch out that left wrist. And another option while we stretch out the left wrist is to try to lift and spread the toes. So stretching the plantar fascia, the fascia at the bottom of the feet. But you might feel this also wake up the calves, maybe even all the way up to the hamstrings. That's a fascial chain that connects all the way up the back of the leg. And then switch hands, stretching out that right wrist into extension. Breathing into the ribs, lifting and then spreading the toes. Lower the toes, hands come down to your sides. Take one more breath in and really think about the torso getting wider. Exhale, tiptoe the spine down as slowly as you can, one vertebra at a time. And once the sacrum lands, we'll move into our core work. You can keep the block between the knees or thighs, whatever width. You don't have to have it, but I like it for that extra engagement up into the inner thighs and pelvic floor. We'll bring the hands behind the head, elbows up or elbows in toward the forehead. Take a huge breath in and really feel the rib cage expand side to side. Exhale, gently hug the block. Feel the ribs pull in toward the body as you lift up. Back of the neck stays long. Inhale to lower down. Breathing and expanding into the ribs. Exhale, hug the block. Feel the front ribs pull in toward the body as you lift up. Drawing those two pelvic points in. Inhale to lower. Exhale, hug the block. Lift off the shoulder blades. Back of the neck is long. Reach the left fingers toward the left foot and we'll side bend. So reach through those left fingers. We're shortening the left side of the body, lateral flexion. Bring it back, hand behind the head. Inhale and lower. Exhale, hug the block, lift off the shoulder blades. Back of the neck is long. We reach the right fingers toward the right foot, and then reach even further, side bending, shortening that right side. Bring it back, hand behind the head. Inhale and lower. We're going to do it 2 times. Exhale, hug the block, lift off the shoulder blades. Back of the neck is long. Reach the left fingertips toward the foot. Side bend once. Come back. Side bend again. Keeping the sacrum down. Hand behind the head. Inhale, lower. Exhale, hug the block. Feel the front ribs pull in as you lift up. Low back stays long. We reach the right fingers toward the right foot. Side bend. Come out of it. One more time. Side bend, shortening the right side. Bring it back. Hand behind the head. Inhale and lower. Release the block. Let's take the knees in toward the chest. You can rock side to side. You can rock up and down. Whatever feels good. And we'll make our way into a seated position. Just a little movement for the wrist here. Let's think about ears over the shoulders, shoulders over the ribs, ribs over the pelvis. Bring the arms forward and just bring the hands into fist and circle the wrist. Circle as much as you can from the wrist joint itself and less from the forearms moving around. They are going to move, but see if you can focus on the movement coming from the wrist joint. Get a little snap, crackle, pop. And then you can shake it out. We'll head to quadruped. Shoulders over your wrist, hips over the knees, and think about that broom behind your back. We're going to start with side bends. So side bending here is like a tail wag. You're going to wag your imaginary tail coming from your tailbone side to side, like you're bringing the hip toward the shoulder. Now let the upper body get involved. Let the shoulders start arcing toward the hip, and we create a C shape if we're going in one direction. Now find that neutral again, and we'll belly roll. So this is kind of combining that with a cat-cow type of movement. We're getting some rounding in the back with just spinal flexion. Try circling both directions. And then again, we'll find neutral, long through the back of the neck. Let's tuck the toes, really press into the fingers, lift your hip creases up, up, up into a very shortened down dog. Now we want the heels very high. Knees are bouncy or buoyant, and so are the feet. We're not trying to slam the heels down. By bending the knees, we're going to feel lightness in the fascia, that buoyancy here at that back chain. Now you can pedal the feet out, of course, to stretch the back of the legs. You can shrug the shoulders up and down, getting into some of that upper back fascia. Like the armpits are lifting up toward the ears and then back down the back. You can even swivel here, turning the lower body to one side and holding the upper body really still. From whatever your down dog looks like, walk your hands back towards your feet and load the whole foot. So big toe, pinky toe, and heel. We're in this triple flexion of the ankles, knees, and hips. Let the neck release. And as much as it feels good, you can kind of swirl, figure 8. You can nod yes and no. Find kind of just a relaxed neck, big bend in the knees. We're going to push the ground away. So use your legs, not your low back, to get up. And at the back of the mat, we're going to pause here like we have a broom behind our back. Keep the knees soft. We bring the left foot forward, a little stagger stance. Right arm comes up, left arm comes down. We slide the left hand down into a side bend. Don't let the front body move forward. Keep the pelvis neutral. Right foot comes forward. Stagger stance, zipper the pubic bone up. We slide the right hand down the leg. So we're just walking our way forward, stretching that side body fascia. And when you get to the front of the mat, we're going to pause and find a little bit of that bounciness in the fascia at the bottom of the feet. So knees stay soft. We zipper that pubic bone up. I want you to try to lift and spread the toes, not the balls of the feet, just the toes, and then lower the toes and just bop the heel up and down. Lift and spread the toes, lower, tiny little lift of the heel and down. But the knees can stay fully bent or soft the whole time. We're mobilizing the ankles as we do this. Waking up that plantar fascia. We'll get into it a little bit more as we really bend the knees, plant the feet down, reach the arms forward and up. Armpits lift way up like you're trying to stretch the side body as long as possible. Hinge forward with the back of the neck long. Come to a quadruped. Shoulders over the wrist. You could also be on fist. Think about your front body lifting up toward that imaginary broom. Left toes slide back without the pelvis tipping forward. So re-zipper that pubic bone up. We're going to try to rock forward and back on this left foot. So we rock back toward that left heel and then try to push forward like we're going to push off the left toes. So you might feel a stretch at maybe the back of the ankle, the calf, maybe all the way up to the hamstring. If you're feeling something you don't like in the knee, really checking what's happening at the pelvis and that stabilizing hip. And then slide it back in for quadruped. Recheck triple S. Right toes back. Let's rock forward and back. Holding that feeling of a broom behind your back. Getting into the ankles, dorsiflexion as we push back into the heel, and then plantar flexion as we rock forward. Bring it back into quadruped. From quadruped, step your right foot forward. We'll slide that left knee in and rise up into a 90-90. Pausing here, feel that triple S. We're going to take a little bit of time to just roll one shoulder back at a time. Freeing up the upper back, you can let the head move a little bit. And then bring the arms into a goal post. We'll try to cross either the left elbow on top for eagle arms. You can cross your arms over and give yourself a hug, whatever this looks like. And we'll inhale, lift the elbows up, lift the chest up, but we're not moving the whole front body forward. We're just lifting the heart without changing the pelvis. And then rounding just the upper back, keep zippering the pubic bone up. Lift up as you inhale, thoracic extension. Exhale, thoracic flexion. Lift back to neutral. Bring the hands down. We slide the right toes back, three-legged quadruped again. Zipper the pubic bone up. If you want to try having a block here for that pelvic stability, you can, but you don't need to. We'll hold this left thigh bone still and slide the right toes out to the right, hip abduction, any amount, but don't shorten that right side. And then cross it over to the left, any amount, hip adduction, ADD. We bring it out to the right. Pelvic points draw in, slide it over toward the left. So we're kind of working and heating this outer hip, and then maybe the inner thigh as it swings to the left. Using the left glute medius to hold that left hip still. We'll slide the right toes all the way out to the right into our adductor stretch position, or that inner thigh stretch. Again, you could be on fingertips or fists. We'll rock forward and back, any amount that feels good. Think about breathing and expanding the breath into the ribs. Active in the right leg as we stretch. So the whole right foot is trying to plant down, big toe and pinky toe side. And we don't want to feel any pinching here in the front of the left hip. So the pelvis is neutral. We still zipper that pubic bone up. Hold any amount of stretch that feels nice. Walk your hands maybe over toward the right corner. Maybe it feels good to walk the hands even further toward that right foot. It's a big stretch for this left side body. Also around the left QL, the lats on the left side, or the lat on the left side. It goes all the way up to the armpit. And then a bigger stretch into that right inner thigh. Think about breathing and expanding into this rib sideways, getting wider. And then breathing into your back ribs. Almost like you could use the breath to puff up the mid-back. Walk it back in. Bring it into quadruped. We're just gonna do a little bit of a pelvic circle. So kind of like our belly roll, but try not to move the rest of the spine, just the lower back and the pelvis, like you're drawing a circle with your tailbone. Step your left foot forward. Right knee slides in for our 90-90. Picture that broom behind you. We're gonna be super active in the right glute. Let's roll the shoulders back one at a time. Try to keep your rib cage stacked over your pelvis. Active stretch for the front of the right hip. Okay, let's goal post the arms. Right elbow on top, maybe we're in some kind of eagle or a hug. We lift the chest, thoracic extension, but don't tip the pelvis or come into a big back bend. Exhale, round the upper and the mid back, kind of like we're just bringing the rib cage forward, but nothing changes about the pelvis. We lift back up. Inhale as we lift the heart. Exhale, round the back, like we're really spreading those shoulder blades. Let's come back up. Hands or fists come under the shoulders. Our left toes slide back. We zipper the pubic bone up. Make sure the right thigh bone, the right femur, is staying very still because that right hip is really working. We slide left toes to the left, hip abduction. Try not to shorten that left side of your torso. And then bring it over to the right. This is going to be so small, hip adduction. So it goes away from the body, abduction, crosses back over the body, adduction. But we're trying not to side bend the spine at all. We're trying to just move in the hip. And we're really working that right hip to stabilize the right leg. Using the whole core, working the shoulders. Bring the left foot all the way out to the left in that inner thigh stretch. Adjust as needed, come to fingertips or fists, and we'll start to rock. Any pace, any depth here, any amount of hinge. Making sure that the jaw is relaxed. We're not clenching the teeth. We're not holding the breath. Make sure that left leg feels like an active stretch. So we're not sinking into anything. We're really pushing into that left big toe. Stay in any amount of stretch. Hands walk toward the left side. Any amount that feels good for your right side body. And deepening this stretch into that left groin. Think about your front ribs lifting up. So away from the ground, instead of sinking the front body toward the ground, we actually want to feel really lifted and engaged while we stretch here. And then imagine that you could breathe right into that right armpit. Bring it back to quadruped. Anything that feels good. You can cat-cow, of course. You can take a down dog and do any of those fascial options here. Pedaling the feet, swiveling the lower body, shrugging the shoulders. Anything that feels good. Let's walk the feet forward. Bent knee, forward fold. Huge bend in your knees. Push the ground away. Use your strong legs to get up. Hands can come down for a moment. Let's soften the knees. Find that neutral pelvic bowl. We lift and spread the toes. Lower the toes. Little lift of the heel and then lower. So we try to lift and spread the toes, but not the balls of the feet. Just the toes. So it's a little bit of toe extension, toe spread, and then plantar flexion of the ankle. Okay, we reach the arms forward and up. Think about the sides of your body trying to lift up toward the ceiling. Hinge forward like a broom is behind you. Quadruped. So our option is the same, left foot back, rocks forward. You'll do one side at a time. You could try being in a plank pose, rocking forward and back on both toes. Whatever option is going to work best for you. Switch sides if you haven't already. Stay long like you've got that broom behind you. Back to quadruped. We're going to step our right foot forward into a 90-90. Feel free to land that left knee on top of a block if you'd like. So we're in this active hip flexor stretch again. Left glute is on. We've got that imaginary broom behind us. Your hands are just going to come to the back of the skull. So we're gonna have the hands right here behind the head. And I want you to inhale and glide your hands, glide that tissue up toward the ears, up toward the ceiling. From that position of really lifting the tissue up, you're gonna side bend right, and then lift back up. Do it again, bring the hands down more toward the base of the skull. Glide your fingers up, side bend, and keep going like that. Glide the fingers up, side bend. Glide the fingers up, side bend, really active in that left glute. Modified side plank. Left hand down, you can even bring it on top of the block. Left knee slides in, right foot steps back. Let's get into the side body tissue, maybe even a little bit lower. We're gonna keep that right foot planted and nice and active. So push into the whole right foot. Right arm's gonna inhale up and over, almost like you're trying to push the ground away with that left hand and lift the left side of the ribs up. And then you can exhale it back. Inhale it up and over. Exhale. So that left shoulder is staying pretty anchored and really active. You do a little push away just to get that side body stretch a little bit bigger on the right side. Back to quadruped. We'll internally rotate the hips. So with the knees where they are, bring the feet apart. Option to bring a block between your knees here, just a little feedback to really actively hold those hips in internal rotation, but that's just an option. Now from this position, you can cat-cow. You can work on hinging back without pinching at the hips or tipping the pelvis. So staying really broad in the back of the hips and the back of the pelvis. As always, relax your breath. Make sure you're not tensing the jaw, the forehead, the neck. Whatever feels good here. You can even be doing belly rolls. All right, let's bring hips back to neutral. You can put the block aside and we'll step the left foot forward. Right knee slides in, maybe it lands on that block for our active 90-90. Ears over the shoulders, shoulders over the ribs, ribs over the pelvis, right glute's got a little squeeze. Hands come to the back of the skull. So you're just gonna have them low toward the base of the skull. Glide the skin up. Side bend without tipping the pelvis. Bring it back up. Just redo that or release, hand slide up. And then we side bend, it should feel really nice. Lifting that tissue up and then getting that stretch into the right side body. From here, we'll head to a modified side plank. Feel free to bring the hand to that block, right hand. Right knee slides in, we step the left foot back and we plant it down. So we're really active and engaged in this left leg. Really secure in the right shoulder. We inhale it up and over. Side bend like we're pushing the floor away. And then exhale. So this is gonna look different. It's gonna feel different on everybody. However big the side bend is, whatever feels good. Really feeling that stretch through the left side. We'll head back to quadruped. You can belly roll. You can swivel here, bringing the knees to the side, feet to the other, rounding the back like you're doing a cat pose. And then you just swivel the lower body the other way, round the back here. So it's similar to our down dog swivels.